I want you to take your shirt off. Just the whole video. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to the Kilby Life. We are back again with 5 more marriage tips. We did a video before. We had 5 and a bonus tip, and so we're back to finish that up.
Yeah, only 5 this time.
Only 5.
Yeah, our last video came out in May.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, but we've been busy pursuing lots of things.
Yeah, I lost some weight. I revisited our video. And it was like, hey, don't go on a diet without telling your spouse you're going to go on a diet. And I'm like, yeah, I think I did that. That's why we talked about it, right?
Yeah, we talked about it first.
Just changed up some of the stuff. But yeah, let's get into it. So our number 6 tip, which we got into the last video, was getting this book. It's called Marriage on the Rock by Jimmy and Karen Evans. This is a book that I have been able to teach through a couple times. Right now, it's my go-to. I recommend it to anyone that wants to get married, is going to go through marriage counseling. You can go through this book. If you have any other books you would recommend, put it down in the comments, because we would love to have more resources when it comes to marriage and marriage counseling.
Absolutely.
And we really believe that marriage is important. So that's why we did, we worked on this. And also, like, the local church we're going to has a bunch of local marriage things, which we haven't been able to get into, but
Not yet.
check your local area too. There might be marriage groups in your area that you could get into for pure marriage counseling. I think our church is running something for like early.
Yep, first 3 years of marriage.
3 years of marriage, and like just. You need to invest in your marriage, and that's why I recommend this book. This, if I was going to take anything out of this book, which I don't agree with 100% of it, but it's pretty good. But if I was going to take anything out of this, I really like the priority lists that it has in it. So the first priority in the book is your relationship with God. So my first priority for my marriage is to make sure that I have a good relationship with God.
It's not me.
Yeah, she's not my God. I don't come to her to fix all my problems. And likewise, if we're in each other's lives and trying to have the other person be our God and put them top on the list, it just doesn't work.
Too much pressure.
Too much pressure. That being said, the second thing on your list is your marriage. Your relationship with God is 1. Your marriage is 2nd. My wife comes 2nd in my life. Why not first? Well, because God comes first. Babe, I'll be your 2nd. Right? And if you have kids, your 3rd priority would be your kids. So God, marriage, kids. Your 4th, which always got me, was your local church. You should be involved in your local church and serving. And when I saw that in the priority list, I was like, you're telling me before I was married and had kids, my priority should have been my relationship with God and my community, my church community. It kind of just blew me away, because I don't think the world we live in puts those things in.
Right. It seems out of order.
It seems out of order. It doesn't seem that important.
Right.
But I was like, okay, God, marriage, kids, church, extended family. Right, there's a place for you before the church. After the church, yes. And then your job, and then your hobbies. It's just nice to know those priorities, because once you know those priorities, then you'll understand that everything that's lower on a priority in this is fighting literally to be higher up on that list.
Right.
I will fight for God's position in your life. I want more attention, this and that. And I don't even know how this. I know I do it, but I don't know how I can't be like, this is when I'm doing it. It just, you can just kind of tell. Just something seems out of order. I guess it would be like codependency, right? There should be no codependency in our marriage. Obviously, we're codependent because we're working together.
Because we're a team, not because.
Yeah, but we depend on God. Right? Because we can't figure all that out. We have finite minds, right? But then what I also realized in this priority list is if you have them all in order, you can give them all the attention that you need to.
Right, the right amount of attention, the attention that they deserve.
Yeah. But and trying to wrangle all that is not an easy thing. But to start that, you just got to know that that's the order. It really helped me. So yeah, Marriage on the Rock by Jimmy and Carrie Evans. A little charismatic for all you Baptist folks.
A little bit. Number 7 is to speak kindly to each other, assume we're on the same team, and to fight well. It's important. Why are
It
you
is
laughing at me?
because I just realized how horrible I am.
We're-
Remembering you're on my team.
Yes. Well, and I feel like that's one of
The sky
things,
is falling. Sorry.
that's one of the things that we've kind of developed over the years where like we'll have moments where like I don't understand why we're even in conflict. Like we're on the same team. Like I'm fighting with you, I'm fighting for you. I'm not actively working against you. And so anytime so I feel like, whatever it is, like generally it's a selfish motivation where I feel like I'm not getting what I deserve, then clearly he's out to get me, or clearly he doesn't care. But if I can remember we're on the same team, it just takes away that resentment bit of it. And so then if we do have an argument, if we can start by saying we're on the same team, we're working towards the same goal, then we're going to fight well, and we're going to have the argument in a mature way, hopefully. And instead of going down to the level of name calling or bringing up every past thing that we've ever done to hurt each other, we can just focus on the issue that's in front of us. And I feel like then we're able to get to resolution a lot quicker.
Yeah, and you were talking about name calling. That's one thing I don't think we've ever done. I might have said something sassy, that'd be funny. But I've never called you stupid or an idiot. I probably have tried to make you feel that way on, just because I'm a jerk. Not trying to. I realize sometimes you just don't say things right, or things you're not saying them and people don't hear them the way you want, and just communication breakdown. But we have not got to the point where we're calling each other names or cursing at each other. We don't do that.
No.
We don't do that at all. It's like,
No.
I didn't know there could be relationships like that. It's like, she's never called me hot garbage.
That seems to be a big phrase we're using right now. It's hot garbage.
Sorry.
When we are having an argument, like he's saying, like, if I feel disrespected or I feel like, you're talking down to me, it's a lot easier to say, look, the way you're speaking to me is making me feel like whatever, instead of it actually just being a name calling, because a lot of times you don't even realize that your tone or your demeanor is saying something that maybe your words aren't trying to convey. And so just having the freedom to say, look, like, and we've even said that to our kids sometimes, don't disagree with your message. However, your tone needs some work.
Yeah. You hear about the Tower of Babel and how God changed the languages and spread everyone out. And I have this theory. It's not only did he change the language, but he really broke down communication.
Yeah.
We just don't know how to communicate with each other. Humans in general just really struggle with communication. So you have to take the time to communicate. Try to think about what you're saying. Try to think how they would receive it. Try to speak the exact words that you mean, which is not easy.
Yes, without embellishment,
because when I'm upset and agitated, here's my words. I don't know. I feel like I'm dying.
It was interesting to me when we first got married because we fight differently, where I'm like, we need to solve this and we need to solve this now, because until I know we're okay, we're not okay. Yeah. I'm a little dramatic
and
sometimes.
I'll be like, shh. Just give me a smooch.
No.
I mean, I want to go for a walk.
He was like, I need space. Not because there's some huge issue, but because he needs to be able to think. Otherwise, we get into a situation where we're not saying what we really mean because we haven't had any time to think about it. So it took me a long time to realize that not having instant resolution didn't mean everything was falling apart.
So we're talking about not name calling, and then I think you just called me a little slow.
No, because I didn't actually call you a little slow. There was no name calling. Now, if you feel like I wasn't speaking kindly to you, we can work on that.
No, I just try to make everything funny.
Yeah. Which sometimes backfires, but...
And you talked about assuming the best. We're on the same team.
We're on the same team.
And I've been learning lately, assuming the best is also wanting good things for the person also, which is another way of saying, I love you.
Yes. Yeah,
I want good things for you, babe.
Even things like when you took the kids out to the river or whatever.
I broke my foot. Never doing that again.
But that, I feel like that was you saying, would I like time by myself? Yes, but I'm gonna gift it to you because I care about you, and and so us being able to do that, we want good things for each other. I'm gonna make this happen for you, and then further down the road, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, and I mean that specific instance was I just heard you say it a couple times, and I was like, do you know what? Let's do it.
I can take care of that need. Yeah.
I'm actually thankful that I could take them all down there, and it was like I was able to do it.
I know, and then watching the video back, I'm like, darn, that looks like fun. I wish I'd gone.
Except for almost.
Except for breaking the foot, yes.
Yeah, and looking like I crushed a child, 4-year-old. And so the third or eighth marriage tip that I have for everyone is to have high standards. Have high standards in your dating. We have shared some videos like how when we dated, we didn't kiss for the first 2.5 years. I mean, until we got engaged, we did not kiss. People are like, oh, that's crazy. And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. But we were trying to build a foundation. We were working with youth. We were doing outreach. We're trying to just be good examples. And in that, we learned a lot of trust.
Yeah.
You know, and so then we also learned a lot of boundaries doing ministry, like not being alone with people from the opposite sex. You got to be really careful about that. Messaging with people that are the opposite sex, like let's say my friend Terry. Hey Terry, you and Melissa, right? Terry was just messaging my wife mostly, right, about watching the kids, having the kids come over, but it was both of us on the thread. I was like, I really appreciate that. So he's communicating with my wife and me at the same time, and not because I'm a control freak or I don't trust my wife or I don't trust Terry, right? It's just because it's a wise thing to do. It's just respectful, and it's like we live in this world where we think we're above all that, right? Yeah, but seduction is called seduction for a reason, right?
It trickles in.
It trickles in, and it's just you don't see it coming.
Right.
You don't see it coming, and so we don't do that. You know, I remember there was a time that I was driving, and someone told on me, say, I saw Aaron with a girl in his truck. Yeah, my sister.
Yeah, it was. Well, the teenage girls that I worked with, it was a scandal. I'm like, the guys. Like, you need to calm down. Thanks for looking out, but you need to calm down.
Ooh, scandal.
Well, but then even more serious than that, not even that long ago, there was somebody, you had left your Facebook account open at the thrift store, and a kid got on it and sent some very disrespectful messages to a young lady that we actually knew through ministry. It was bad. And did she send you a message back first?
She sent
like,
a message.
What the heck?
I was literally at church practicing worship.
Yeah. So she sent him a message which brought it to his attention because obviously if you send a message, you're not going to get...
You should not be sending me those messages. Aren't you married?
Yeah, aren't you married? And so he called me and I was able to get her phone number and I called her and was like, I need you to know I know about it. It wasn't Aaron. We'll figure out what happened, but like it was 100% not him. I can say it with confidence, and like he's not hiding anything from me. So it was not him.
And I wasn't. It's
and
like
he wasn't.
It was just one of those things. Like I think about it, and I still kind of cringe. I'm like, oh man, because I don't.
Those are the things that ruin all of the years that we've spent trying to say, you know, we're doing things differently, and the ministry to these people, it can be just ruined that quickly.
And in each other's trust.
Yeah.
I didn't do. I'm literally playing my guitar and singing, and then I see this message. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
My goodness.
And I'm like, I get the kid. I had the kid on camera doing it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I felt like I just had to like go into defense mode to try to make sure that everyone knew. I mean, I believe that you believe me because I didn't do it.
I mean, I called her before we had the video.
Yeah, I wanted that girl just to know that, no, I'm not doing this stuff.
Right.
And that being said, it could still be a scandal in someone's life, but it wasn't me.
Right.
It was some 12-year-old kid because I left myself logged in. We had a computer set up where people could sign up for our email address and I had my...
we also learned about logging out of Facebook.
Yeah, IT.
Yeah, I mean, and all of those kinds of things. Like we have just set up boundaries that I feel like have given us good guidelines. I remember one time too, somebody for ministry stuff was like, "Hey, can I get your phone number to call you?" And like, you can call my wife. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And just those kinds of things, and not to be weird about it. And we usually loop each other in on all the things that are going on anyway, but just to make sure that there's not a doubt.
Live such good lives in front of people, even if they accuse you of wrong, they could still tell there's something different about you, and they're like impressed. And so, you know, the high standards kind of leads into getting yourself involved with community with similar goals.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of our friends are
which is tip number 9.
Tip number 9. A lot of our friends are people that we have been involved with in ministry for years, people that we know very well, people from church, and we just joined a community group through our church. So those are newer relationships, but all of them, I think, hold kind of that same value. And Terry, who you were talking about earlier, we knew from church and now in a community group, and just, without even having to say, like, let's loop everybody in on this. Like, it's not even a weird thing because everybody wants to have that standard and that accountability. And I think just being able to spur each other on to those things where it's almost taken for granted because we're so used to operating that way. It's just really comforting and makes you feel a little less weird in a world that like thinks you're strange for doing all of these things.
Yeah, and so how does that help the marriage? Because there's a verse that says if two walk together and one falls down, the other one is there to pick them up. But if you are in community with other married couples, right, that are headed to the same place, you have the same goals, you could, as couples, you could be there to help other people also, because marriage is important. That's why we're doing this video. I want you guys to know marriage is important, and we value marriage. And when I have friends that are married and I see their marriage is not doing well, it breaks my heart. It drives me crazy. I love them. I want good things for them because marriage is a picture of the gospel of Jesus, if you want to break it down.
Yeah.
And it's so important to me, and it's always under attack, and I'm passionate about it. Yeah, it makes me passionate about it.
Well, and I read a quote one time that said, have friends that are just not that impressed with you.
Yeah.
And so I have friends, married couples that we're friends as couples with them, where if I said, look, Aaron is doing XYZ, like, give me some advice, probably 9 times out of 10 they'd be like, yeah, so have you looked at your role in this situation and what you could be doing differently to, those sorts of things where
I want specifics.
where instead of just saying, oh, you're right, your husband's a jerk, they're going to call me out on whatever my part is in it while we work towards that reconciliation.
I like that because we all need that kind of accountability and stuff. Yeah. Well, I've known you. You can be a little... Oh, you're perfect.
Is that you going to start name calling now?
The last tip number 10, is this. Be willing to break the crazy cycle. What's a crazy cycle? Here it is. If a man does not feel respected, he will act unloving towards his wife. And if a wife does not feel loved, she will act disrespectful towards her husband. And so this is one of those things, like, unless I am willing to stop the crazy cycle. The problem is a lot of times we want to win and we don't want to be the ones who stop.
Well, and I think too, sometimes it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is that's causing the discord. I don't think about respect in the same way you do.
Yeah.
And you don't think about love in the same way that I do, which sounds weird, but when you break down almost any fight or argument, like it kind of boils down to those things at the core of it. Yeah, so until somebody is willing to say, okay, wait, like, I'm just going to try. I'm going to try to respond differently, even though I still don't feel like my need has been met. Until you get to that point where one of you is mature enough to do that in each argument, then you're going to be stuck in that cycle.
And honestly, this is a marriage tip, but I also think this is a tip for life, because if you ever want to have any breakthroughs, you can't just dig in forever.
Right.
You can't just dig in forever. I was reading this morning, bless those who curse you, right? So how do you take power away from the people that are your enemies that are cursing you? You bless them. And it's the same way with your wife. If she feels like my enemy, right, I'm just going to stop this and I'm going to bless her. And automatically I get some healing in my life. It's the same exact thing. Sure, I might not think she deserves my forgiveness at the moment. I deserve the peace myself too.
Yes.
Or vice versa. It's probably versa. You just have to be willing to let go and be the one that stopped the crazy cycle. Just be willing to do it.
And I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying before, where if we're on the same team and we can operate out of that as a center, then my demand to be loved how I want to be loved, I can set that aside from it and say, okay, look, he's not out to get me. He's not trying to be unloving. He's not, whatever. And how can I respond better? How can I respond differently versus just, like you're saying, just digging in and saying, oh no, clearly this is a personal attack.
Well, and the trick with this is actually, I want to say the trick, but what you need to do is try to get this sooner, because the more it spirals, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And there's, I've heard, don't let the sun go down in your anger. So if you can, nip this in the bud right off the bat.
Right.
Don't let that crazy cycle keep going. Stop it. Hopefully before the sun goes down, but at least have a conversation saying, listen, I'm not angry anymore. We're gonna get through this, but can we talk about this in the morning?
Right.
Because sometimes you just need a little bit of time, and having the maturity to do that, and the maturity to receive that,
Yes.
saying that's okay. That's okay. We'll take care of it.
Yep.
Right?
We can sleep and come back to
You
it.
just never know, but really try to get that taken care of quick, because it will fester and spiral out of control. I guess turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
I
Well,
keep thinking about all these.
I think too, when we were early married, there were times when you would come to me and say, look, that felt really disrespectful. And in my head, I was going, why? Like, I don't understand how that was disrespectful. And like, I can remember specific situations to this day that you can be and we're like, that just felt really disrespectful. And him being willing to say that to me, and then me being able to say, help me to understand that. Like, help me to understand not like this particular situation, but like, what about it felt disrespectful? What about it felt like I was undermining you, or whatever the case may be, so that I don't repeat it.
Yeah.
And so being able to have those conversations, I think, especially again, early marriage was really helpful for me, because then it helped me avoid that same thing the next time, or go about what I was doing a different way so that it wasn't disrespectful.
But sometimes what I realized is I was just being prideful. I was the problem. I'm saying I'm feeling disrespected in this, but it was just an ego. It was an ego thing. But sometimes there's just an element of something that makes you feel disrespected that you can blow up into this other thing that makes you have a defense mechanism that tries to protect you. And I don't need to defend myself from my wife.
Right, because I mean, if we can't be vulnerable with each other and say, this is how I'm feeling, and not you made me feel, but like, this is just how I'm feeling, and maybe I don't even know why I'm feeling this way, like you're saying, like I don't know why this is getting the reaction that it is, but being able to work through that and have those conversations instead of just, well, because I feel unloved, so deal with it, like, having those conversations and being able to put words on it changes how we can interact and allows us the freedom to be who we are without feeling like we have to hide.
Yeah. So I wanted to just thank everyone for checking out this marriage advice number 2. It's been a long time running.
It has been.
And we got a busy life. We got 8 kids. It's a little
and we
crazy.
have to wait for them all to go to bed before we can film these. It is now 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. What I want you to do is tell us what your favorite tip was. What was your favorite tip down in the comments? And I just want to thank everyone that watches these videos. I know this is a little bit different. We haven't done one since May.
Maybe if there is a question about marriage or parenting or something like that you want us to hit on in one of our next videos where it's just me and Aaron talking, let us know that too.
Yeah, we can mess up your marriage and your kids too. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for watching these videos. Kilby out.